We appreciate you being here with us today to learn more about ShareFile's e-signature features. I am Bruno Albert, one of our senior solutions engineers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Heppy, and I am a senior customer success engineer with ShareFile. I'm excited about this webinar. I think you're going to get a lot out of it.
We're going to start off with our e-signature basics. If you're familiar with Right Signature from the past, e-signature inside of ShareFile is still the same tool. While there are some differences in the user interface, Right Signature's a part of ShareFile, a part of the company, has been for quite a good number of years at this point. And so we've made some steps to fully absorb that into ShareFile. And you'll see what that looks like. Basically, we want to do everything that we can to keep you from having to do too many clicks out of the home of ShareFiles. We'll start looking at that. We'll take a look at some of the differences as we go on, um, covering the basics, what the dashboard looks like in sending a document, moving on to templates and online forms, and checking in on your users, providing reports, and setting permissions for who can manage what. We're going to get in there and actually demo this product. I am in the Acme Corporation sample ShareFile account. And what we see here, rather than having to go to a completely separate website, we now have a signature tab right here on the left-hand side. When I click into that, I'm actually able to view my signature dashboard so I can see all of my signature requests. If I'm an administrator, that means I can also use the admin view to see signature requests by other users. If I'm not an administrator, then I'm only going to see my own, things that I'm a part of. And I can also filter by signature requests that are in progress, that are completed, those that have expired without being signed or been declined, voided, meaning someone from inside my company has gone in and canceled it, and I can check for drafts and those that are paused for revisions. So if you've been using our e-signature tool for a while, some of these will look new. We've done a lot to accommodate the user where you stand and meet your flow of business rather than just having things that are pending or signed or expired. We have a bit more nuance available so that you're able to peer into why it's not moving forward and sort by that status. Also want to take a moment to show off our search feature. All you need to do is type in a name or a topic, document title, whatever you may have, and you're able to find it fairly quickly right from your dashboard using the search. So that can be a sender, a recipient, or a document name, really whatever you need, even a date, good to go. So with that in mind, let's walk through actually sending out a document. When we click Create Signature Request, we have the option to grab a file from wherever and send it right from here. We can also distribute one blank file to many people, and we can self-sign. Uh, Personally, I've used this one quite a bit, things that I need to sign for my own affairs and distribute to government agencies, insurance companies, what have you. This allows me to self-sign when someone sends me a document and they're not using e-signature. That's okay. I can still leverage it for myself. Pop it in here, sign it, return it back to them. So one other thing that I want to show you before we walk through the full workflow is the fact that you don't have to necessarily come into the signature dashboard and click create a signature request in order to send a document for signature. When you're browsing through your documents, you're able to actually click on a file and click send for signature directly from the folder. This is a nice feature because once it's signed, the document will automatically return to the folder from whence it came. As we can see here, we've got my release of liability in the signed copy with self-signed appended to it. And we also see that next to the originals, we have a pen icon. So we can see even on the ShareFile side of things, how this signature flow is built in, it's represented, you have some quick labels and easy ways to identify what's going on and where, apart from having a dashboard specifically dedicated to the signatures. So whether you're coming from the signature view or the file view, you can still get the information that you need easily enough. That being said, we'll walk back into this, click Send for Signature, and when we want to grab a file for our signature flow, we can either browse our ShareFile account, we can open up a browse file dialog on our computer, Windows, Mac, what have you, or we can use a pre-built template, which we'll get into a little bit more later. For now, we're just going to focus on grabbing a file and sending it out. If we don't want to browse to it, we can also drag and drop a file from anywhere on our desktop and just pull it into this little box, and we'll be able to get it there. Grab a very basic form here, just a little one-pager. And once we've got our file, time to specify who are the recipients. We can also add multiple files if we need to send out several at once as part of a package to complete our task. That's fine. If we've done some type of ShareFile business with this individual who's going to be the signer, then their email and name will likely auto-populate once we start typing. In this case, I've got this person registered as a client user against my ShareFile account, but it'll bring up everybody that I've either shared files with or e-signatures with by the name of John, just by virtue of me typing in John. No problem. I simply click, and full name and email are populated here. And we have a signer role. I want to just touch on this briefly. So an individual whose contact info you're specifying here can be either a signer, meaning they're actually going to participate in the execution of the document, or they can be a viewer, meaning that they're not going to participate, but they are going to have access to the completed signed document once finished. If you've used some iteration of our e-signature piece in the past, this was formerly known as a CC party or recipient, a carbon copy. But essentially, anyone you add here, they'll just get a finished copy, regardless of whether you've added them to a specific ShareFile folder, etc. So if you have no need for looping them in that manner, and you just want them to get the signed document when it's done, adding them as a viewer is a good way to accomplish that. If we have multiple recipients, we can actually specify the order in which they are to sign. This is conditional, meaning that recipient 1 has to finish it before recipient 2 will receive the document and be prompted to sign on their own. So that conditionality really can help with a workflow that's more sensitive, where you don't want to bother party number 2 until you know you've got a green light from party number 1. However, if you don't specify an order, it'll be more of a shotgun approach. It's going to go out to everyone all at once. They'll each be responsible for filling in their own stuff, and the completed document will merge all input from different parties onto one doc. I am going to go ahead and add myself to this, just so we can see what that looks like. And whether it's yourself or a completely separate party, we'll examine how the individual recipient's input is going to be segregated and color-coded for simplicity and to keep everything orderly. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and switch to the next step. We've got our releaseor prompted to fill in a name and address as free text. We can see those highlighted in blue. And then where we've assigned the signatures, we can see our releaseor in blue with a date and our releasee in orange with a date. So let's just backtrack that a sec and examine the available fields. So we have signatures. Here we go. We've got dates. We've got text. We can add items from a drop-down list. We can check checkboxes. We can group checkboxes together to ask someone to respond to a multiple choice checkbox scenario. For example, question number 3 on our liability release form is payment versus no payment. Well, it's got to be one or the other, but it doesn't make sense for me to require both of them to be checked, but I need an answer to the question. That would be a scenario where I would group the two options together and require that my signer answer or respond to the group. We can even collect an attachment on the document itself. So let's look into some of the settings around these fields specifically as well. So once we click on it, we can still go back and assign that to one of our color-coded parties if we need to. We can determine whether this field of input is required or optional, whether any input in this box basically clears the background or whatever it's stamped over. Let's say I had made this huge. If I had uh, not specified a clear background, then it would actually be superimposed over the top of the text, right? A lot of scenarios where that may not be good. I do recommend an oversized signature box as well. A lot of folks have those grand high-flying signatures with big capital letters, whereas maybe the rest of it's going to be right along the line. So I just maybe a personal preference, you might say, but I suggest a large box so that they can sign comfortably, even if it's a little bit over the text. That's entirely up to you. Last point here, let's talk about the name field. So if we were to build this document out as a template for later usage, whether that's just for ourselves or for our team members, basically meaning anytime we have a doc like this, we know that even if it's got different info pre-filled, maybe from our company management system, accounting system, CRM, whatever line of work you're in, this works with all different kinds of documents. So maybe you've got a system that fills in some of the info, like Acme Construction, company name and address pre-filled here. That's okay. If the signatures and dates are in the same place, you can swap out that base document and keep the signatures and dates in one location. Uh, if there's anything that your senders are going to need to fill in our tool as part of that, you're going to want those fields named clearly so that they can be prompted. What is this field named? Name, address, date, payment amount, etc. They can just go down the line, fill it in as if it's a form, and that'll be implanted onto the document there. One last thing, if you haven't taken the time to actually build this out as a template, well, that can be okay too. We have this import fields function right here that will scan your account for documents that look similar. As you can see, I've sent out a similar document a couple of times in the past, 3 months ago, 3 months ago, 1 hour ago. If I select one of those, even though I never proactively built this out as a template, I can actually pull in where were the signatures, where were the dates, do I have any initials, etc. And it will place those fields for me in the same locations on the document I'm using right now. So it's kind of like a shortcut to using a template. Now, the downside is, of course, it's not as tightly managed and scalable out across your team. So if you work with 5, 10, 100, 5,000 other people that are going to be using documents like this, you probably want to put the extra effort in to draw up a proper template. But for on-the-fly usage with little to no configuration, this is basically pulling off your document history and saying, hey, you've sent one of these before. Do you want to set this up the same way? And you simply have to say yes and determine who's who. And as we can see in the preview, we've got our text, our color-coded signatures. If that looks good, we can pull it in. We can move it around if we want to. We can still add extras if we need. It's just a shortcut. It doesn't mean we're forced into anything. One last thing too, with regard to our date fields, we now have an autofill for the date the document was signed. Users can change it after the fact if they need to, but it'll automatically implant the date of signature. Moving right along, we're able to give this document a new name. I'll ask you all to release me from any and all liability resulting from this webinar. That's a joke, just kidding. And you get to determine where the file is going to be stored. This is also one of the newer features. If you've seen this in years past, they used to automatically go into one specific folder, but now you actually have a choice of selecting where the document, the signed copy, should return to, which is very helpful in terms of organizing these things after the fact once they're completed. You can include a personalized note to any and all signers, specify an expiry period. In this case, it'll be February 27th unless I alter the 30-day period. We have the option if you work in accounting or anything involving health or finances, you may be required based on your industry. This is at your discretion and for you to know as far as your own compliance standards, but you may have some requirements around putting a passcode on this information. Or specifically when dealing with IRS requirements, you may be required to use what's called knowledge-based authentication. For those of us that don't work in the accounting field, this is very similar to those forms that we see when often dealing with banking or credit information, where we have to verify an address that we lived at for 9 months in college, or some car that we owned 20 years ago, those kind of things, stuff that only we are supposed to know. Um, you can flip a little switch to include that type of security to verify that the person receiving the document is who they say they are, versus a passcode, just verifying that they are in fact the person you sent it to because you've provided a passcode and they know it. You can also alter your default settings. These can be managed on your e-signature settings on your ShareFile account, but you can change them on the fly as part of sending out this document. How often do you want to send automated reminders? Daily, weekly, or not at all? Do you want to include the signed copy of the document as a PDF when everything's done? Or do you want to just distribute a link so your users have to go click and grab it? Do you want to allow hand-drawn signatures, i.e. with my mouse, or more than likely a touch screen uh, being done on our smartphones or tablets nowadays? Do you allow typed signatures? This is brand new. Do you allow uploaded signatures, an actual image, maybe a scan, something like that, that your users have on file on their computers? That's been much requested over the years. And for certain industries, you may find that depending on who you're communicating this to after the fact, you may need blue ink. That can be helpful. So you do have the option to apply blue ink to signatures as well for a greater degree of authenticity. That being said, we will go ahead and send this out. And our users, our recipients will be walked through the document one stage at a time until it's complete. They can't send it back to you until it's fully done. And just throwing back to what we looked at a little earlier, once it is done, You can see these are hand-drawn signatures, dated, and every electronic signature document is given and it looks like we need to do a little bit of name changing on our e-signature certificates, but we do have the um, legally accepted signature certificate providing a document reference number. The document is essentially locked and encoded with a checksum, making it unable to be altered without invalidating the checksums, and includes, for your full compliance and authenticity standards, a detailed audit trail verifying the emails of all parties involved, whether they signed or not, their own digital fingerprints, IP addresses, devices, times where it was viewed. They verified their emails and signed, and even a signature reference ID and biometric verification. Everything that you need to make sure that this form will be valid for whomever you need to communicate it to once it's done. That being said, I think that pretty much covers the basic signing or sending and signing flow. So Ashley, I will turn it over to you, sir.
As you can see my screen, I'm also on the Acme Corporation ShareFile site here, and we're going to go through some kind of edge use cases for ShareFile and talk about some of the things that maybe not everyone's going to utilize, but we just want to make sure that you're aware of them. And those three items are utilizing the bulk send action for ShareFile or for write signature, also creating a public link for an e-signature document, and lastly, embedding an e-signature document on a website. So we're going to quickly try and go through those so that we have some time for QA at the end. But right now, we're going to kind of go through and utilize these features and see how we can utilize these as a different workflow in your company. So first, we're going to look at how to send a document in bulk. So what I mean by this is we have one document that we want to send individually to a bunch of different recipients, okay? And the caveat here is it can only be one signer. So we're going to take a document, create a template, and then be able to utilize that template to send to individual signers, and each person will get their own separate document to sign, and then they'll all, once they get signed, they'll all kind of come back in one at a time once the signer does that. But the first thing that we're going to need to do is jump into our ShareFile account and go to the Signatures tab. Once we navigate to the Signatures tab, we're going to click the Switch to Old Experience. That's going to take us over into Write Signature. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blow up the page here so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. And I'm going to actually create a template in this old Write Signature experience. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create Template. I'm going to upload a file. So this is going to be our document that we're going to want to send to everyone. And in this case, I'm just going to do an expense report. I'm going to go ahead and upload that expense report and select Prepare Document. What we notice here, and this is the caveat, is that we only need one signer role because we're only sending this to one signer, but we're going to send it to a lot of different people. So I'm going to leave this as it is, and I'm going to go ahead and place my fields. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a signature field down here for my signer. Let's go ahead. Oh, that's a text field. I'm just going to move this up here and put it in here. And then I'm going to do my signature field. And it looks like that took that time. And once that's all set, I'm going to go ahead and review. Obviously, we would go ahead and fill out this entire template, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to add a couple fields here. And we're going to go to the next section, and then we get to specify when we want this to expire. You know, maybe we don't want it to expire in 30 days. Maybe we have a timeline that requires it to be 7 days. And now what we're going to do is we're going to actually create that template. So now that we've created that template here in our old Write Signature experience, we can navigate back over to our ShareFile account. Once we're in our ShareFile account, we can click on our Signatures tab again, click Create Signature Request, and then we can utilize the bulk send. So let's click bulk send here. From here, we now have the option under Browse Files to use a template. So go ahead and click on Use Template. And then you'll see it says Write Signature Templates. If we select this Write Signature Templates, you'll see our expense report that we created. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And now you can see that brought that in. Now we have the option again to click Send in Bulk. When I click this, it's going to bring us to a page that says, all right, we know that you want to send in bulk, but you need to identify who you're sending it to. And the best way we can do that is with a CSV, okay? So you can actually download this CSV and open it up, fill in the user's name, email address, and what the message you want to send to them is, and then you can actually select it from your local PC. So I've already got one I filled out, and I'm just gonna, for sake of time, go ahead and click on this and then select upload. And from here, you can see all of the people that I want to send this document to individually is listed here. And it basically has their email address and it's ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and click import. And we can see we have 6 bulk signers. So this list could be, 25 signers, 100 signers, but each one of these people is going to get their own expense report that they have to fill out. And it's not like it's, adding 100 signers to one document. Now I'm going to go ahead and click next step. And it's going to verify all of the signers here and the fields that we already have set, which you can see a text field here, a signature field. We already did that, so we're going to go to the next step. And then we get to specify, obviously, where we would like the signatures to go once they are finished. And again, you can select wherever you would like that. And then once you specify that, you can go in and change your default settings. Just like what Bruno had already spoke about previous, it's all the same here after you get through that bulk send, and then you click send signature request. Then that's going to go ahead and send out all of those documents to be signed by those individual users. And I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to leave it like it is. But that's how you would go about bulk sending a single document to a lot of users. It's pretty easy once you know how to go into the old experience and create that old ShareFile or Write Signature template. Next, we're going to talk about creating a public link that you can send to people in order to sign a document. So in here, again, you're going to go to the Signatures tab. You're going to select Switch to Old Experience again. And this is, remember, this is just going to be a link to a signature that you can distribute via email. You can put it in your email signature. You can put it in a chat session, something along those lines in order to utilize it. And switch to old experience. Let's see if it takes us back into our old Write signature. Let's go to our templates again. This is where you're going to need to generate this public link for this item. And since we already had that sample expense report that we created as a template, if I select details here, I can actually go to generate share link on the right hand side. Hopefully you guys can see that. Oh, I bumped it up a couple more. So generate share link is going to provide us with a link, test share link, that we can give out to individual users. We can limit the number of uses, we can expire it after a certain time, and the identity method is important because this is going to say, all right, how are you verifying that you are who you say you are? So if we utilize the email identity method, the user will get an email that they have to verify, Same thing with a text message, or if you did not want a user to have to verify who they are, you could set this to none, and that removes the requirement to put in an email address to sign this document. So I'm going to leave it as none and generate this link. All right, so now I'm going to copy this link, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like in this, and we're going to go ahead and just navigate to it. So that link allows me to go right to this as a signer, put in my name here, and proceed to the document. Again, I left this optional, so I don't need to authenticate. I'll just go ahead and say, got it, got it. And look, I have the ability to put in my text, sign this, and I'm going to do a head type. And then once I sign this and I apply this, then this will go to my ShareFile account so that I can utilize that signature. And anyone who has that link can actually utilize that signature. All right. The last thing that I want to talk about is embedding a right signature document in a website. So if you have a website and you want to utilize right signature, a form, and have it posted directly on your website, you can utilize something in right signature that can actually make that available. So again, we're going to go to signatures, switch to old experience. Then we're going to go to our template again. Again, since we're working with this expense report, maybe we want to post this expense report on our website. So anybody that can navigate to our website can actually access it and fill it out and submit it. What we can do is there's an embed in website button here. If you select it, it's going to ask you a few things about this embedding. So we're going to name this. We're just going to say test embedded. Okay. And then what we can do is we can make it a button on a website. We can make it an image on a website, and we can make it an inline, which means like if they were scrolling through a website, it would just be posted there for them to fill out. And I'll show you what each one of those looks like real quick. So I'm going to leave this all normal and then set this to none, but I'll show you what the button looks like. So let me go ahead and generate this. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm just going to throw it into an HTML editor. So this is what your website builder would know how to do, but I'm going to go ahead and post it in here and run it. So as you can see, there's a button here that says sign this document. Just imagine this on your website where maybe you have a list of forms and you have a button for each form that you want them to sign, and they can actually click this button and then it takes them to the document to sign. And then all they have to do is put in their information, and then they can actually go ahead and fill this document out directly from the site. And I'm just going to quickly show you the other two options for this. An image is just a very small image of the form. So I'm just going to say test 2 and generate the link again. So I'm going to copy to clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and throw this into our HTML editor and run it. So this is what it would look like on the web page. It's just a image of the form. They would click on the image, and then again, it would take them into here for them to sign. And the last one, again, really quickly, is if they wanted to embed it directly into the site page, let's do test 3, and we're going to say inline, okay? And we get to specify how big we want the box to be on the website. So we're going to say it's 100 pixels by 100 pixels, and we're going to go ahead and generate that as well. Let's see what that looks like, what that would look like on a website. Copy to clipboard, and we're going to paste it in here. So whenever they navigate to that website, they would just see this automatically. So they could then put in their information and then proceed to the document. Again, I have it set to required email. So I can't proceed right now, but as you can see, it's just a big box that is available for them to start filling out and navigating to the form if they wanted to sign it. Okay, so those are kind of the things that I wanted to really bring up and talk about. You do have the ability to go back and look at those links that you created. So if you created a share link, you can see obviously the icon is different for that. You can disable these links, and you can also view the code again. So if you've already created one and you need to go back and make sure that you get the right code for it, you can actually copy it out of here and go back and paste it into your share file or your website for that. All right, so I am pretty much finished up with my portion. Again, those were kind of edge use cases, and I know that we probably have some actual questions to talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave my screen up in case you guys do have questions and we need to navigate through this.
I did want to actually touch on one topic, and I'll do my best to kind of describe this in broad strokes for the audience here. But please bear in mind, while ShareFile is a secure file sharing platform, and that's an integral part of what we do, we are also a workflow company and tool, and we have a great number of customers in a wide variety of industries, everything from um, nuclear power plants and defense contractors to floral shops and whale researchers processing whale songs in ShareFile. So um, everything in ShareFile has a certain degree of variability as to how you wish to use it and what works best for you and your requirements. So I will say, when you send a document with ShareFile, which I think we had some questions from looking at the email addresses. I'm guessing some of our CPA and accounting folks. When you send an email as a share file attachment, something really important to note is that while it looks like an attachment to you, it's not actually an attachment to your email. It scrapes out a document you're sending with ShareFile, turns it into a link where rather than being sent through regular email, your recipients have to click the link and go somewhere into ShareFile to get the file. That's one of the ways that we keep it secure. You can choose to put a password in front of that, etc. That's essentially what's happening when you send a document for signature. Your recipient doesn't really receive a copy of a document. They get a link that they click to go somewhere safe and sign it. Now, where one of the questions came up was, what about distributing a PDF at the end of the signature process? So, as it stands today, this is a convenience factor. So if you have something benign, you've got, I don't know, Pee-wee football attendance sheets or something like that, and you want all of that to be distributed as a standard PDF. I've seen all kinds of use cases for this, and you just want the minimum barrier to entry and the maximum convenience. Sending a raw PDF might be okay. But if you have sensitive documentation, then just skip the attaching a PDF. Everyone on the workflow, viewers, signers, the sender, will receive an email notification saying the document is signed, and much like any other ShareFile attachment, it will actually be a link that they click to retrieve the completed document. So if you're concerned about sensitive info, compliance standards, whatnot, skip the attached PDF. Right signature will handle the rest. All of that is with the same security as ShareFile. Very important. So wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Bruno. I did want to mention one more thing as well. Actually, a couple things, if I can. If you do need, if anything, if you're in ShareFile and you're trying to send a document for signature, if you're getting any errors or something comes up and you just can't figure something out and it's troubling you, definitely reach out to our support team. If it's something that's broken, they can assist you in working through that. That's support.sharefile.com. And then there's an option to chat with us. And then if you do that, you can actually get engaged with a technical support engineer that can kind of create a ticket for you, help you through that process. If there's a question on how to use something, or you have questions about best practices, or maybe setting something up like this for your entire company, where it's more of a workflow where you guys can utilize this moving forward, reach out to your customer success engineer like me and Bruno. That we have a whole team that's willing to help you. If you go to the dashboard, you can actually select the little share file icon down in the bottom right hand corner, and then you can see a contact your success engineer. If you're an admin on the account, you can see this and utilize this, so that if you have questions about how to set something like this up, or maybe deploying this throughout, and you need some help with training or anything like that, reach out to your customer success engineer. And of course, this one is the Acme, so this has got Bruno here. And then all you have to do is click Let's Connect, and then that'll actually send an email to Bruno, and Bruno can reach out to you. We don't have any robots on this one. It's just person to person, and that way, you can get your information and kind of move on. So, yeah, just utilize that moving forward. And if you have any questions after this, and you want to continue to work on getting this deployed, reach out to that customer success engineer. Thank you guys for attending.